going to be Remedy. They're going to break down the strategies, and they're going to find ways to execute upon you. And it's very sensible to be moving over to Cafe. Now, they can actually play very similar, and especially when you're looking at like the first Villa, well, that plays almost identical to Reading Room on Cafe. It requires the attackers to do a top-down clear and then execute straight upon sight. Now, the whole goal of the defense, though, is to waste as much time and utility as possible.
It is, and we're also, like we talked about, we're going to be going to Cafe, my personal favorite map here, and we're going to be seeing a lot of, I guess you can say, time wasting on such a big map like Cafe. We're going to also see debatably the best site, as we like to call it, or excuse me, my favorite site, as I also like to say, the Reading Fireplace site. Do you think that any of either of these teams are going to really utilize that site?
Well, I do love Reading Room, but if you're going to be talking about like strictly the Gears site, I think it's one of the worst sites in the history of this map. Actually, it's not as bad. I'm really making it seem terrible, but honestly, at the end of the day, it's actually viable for the most part, except for that one external window. And when you're an attacker there, you basically just prop it up on the window, you hold a long line of sight, and you can shut down the defense. So I'd prefer to go to Reading every single time, and statistically, it's the best site here on Cafe.
Statistically, it is, and for those of you who don't know, it is literally because you hold two sites at once, because you will be holding the upstairs for verticality the same way you will be holding the downstairs. You will be holding basically the upstairs bar site, bar cocktail, and then all of a sudden you drop down, and all of a sudden you have a second layer of defense that the attack will have to peel through. And it's a very, very smart place for the defenders to be in. Now, that's not to discredit any of the other bomb sites, especially Kitchen. Kitchen, after the rework, we've seen a lot of teams go to, and debatably has been the strongest go to.
And that's a great point. Now, I just want to touch on the fact that Team Remedy is the newest addition to our roster and to our team here in SCL. They ended up replacing a team that disbanded, so their stats really don't reflect their skills. They inherited 2 losses from the team that they replaced, and they've only played 1 match. That was on Coastline, and that was against Prisma Esports, where they lost 7-4. And it looked like Team Remedy was a team that's very capable of setting up aggressive attacks and playing together. But where they started to fall was as soon as an aggressive team like Prisma is started to break down that aggression and force the attackers to separate and play individual ones. And as soon as that happened, the attackers crumbled.
Another thing that really seemed to break down for them is that they had control over the map, because I casted this game last week against Remedy versus I'm blanking on the name now. Prism. Prism. And they were playing very well. They were able to get onto the map, and they were just completely taking control. However, they didn't do anything with it. They didn't, take over any of the actual bomb site with time or when they needed to. And we see, of course, the stats go up, and it's not really reflective of this team. However, they play still very well. Warrior's the only person here left from the old disbanded roster, and he is their entry fragger, and the stats not really reflecting it. But of course, that's after only 1 week. And we're going to be willing to see if they're going to be able to take over Verticality. Verticality was one of their banes and their downfalls of last week.
That's a great point, and we really saw this spearhead coming out by Warrior as Lasky, who's also one of their best players, and statistically the only one that is rated positive. And Dennis had absolute moments of brilliance. He looked extremely strong. He was playing well, but he would always find himself put on this island, and I think that it reflects with his overall KD, where it's very impossible to win 1v2 gunfights, where he honestly found himself in over and over again.
He did find himself over and over again in there. And we're going to switch over to the next team, who has a bit more of a record on them, and that's going to be cLaw Central here. We're going to see, of course, your top person in the entire league, which is Jaiko, here boasting a 1.47 rating, and he's just been unstoppable, it seems like, throughout these few weeks.
honestly, it comes down to him on Ayana clearing out the map, and he does a self-drone strategy, but there's always a little baby drone with him too. So he has this weird, unique two-drone strategy, and it's really forcing teams just to crumble on their extended roams. And even when it comes down to their final site execute, now we've only seen them play on Villa, but the way they can siphon a team on planes and games is so oppressive. It's going to be Team Remedy. They're going to have to find a way of shutting down Jaiko, and maybe that's bringing mute every single defense.
It very well could be, because playing mute and then knowing that a team like cLaw Central, who has been so heavy on the information game, it just seems that they're completely, botched for it. And I'm going to be very interested to see if they're willing to bring this on such a big roamer heavy map like Cafe. And we're going to start this map up for you, ladies and gentlemen. Here it's going to be Team Remedy versus cLaw Central on Cafe. cLaw Central going to be defending first, and they're going to have the first ban here. What do you think is coming out here, Chief?
Well, we've seen a ton of Thatcher, and it makes sense because he is the bane of Rainbow Six Siege. But lately, we've seen a lot of operators like Capital come back through the meta, and he's always been a strong operator. And the fact that a lot of T3s have forgot about his existence kind of concerns me. But again, he's making this upsurge back, and he gets a very strong ban, especially since most teams elect to play in Pixel. And there he goes. It's going to be Capital removed.
Now, I think the counter to banning Capital would be banning the Wamai. That way, you don't have any other way to, force somebody into this corner. And we're also going to see the Valk banned out, a very strong intel operator here, especially on a map like Cafe, where there's plenty of windows to hide him outside and just everywhere else. And we're also going to see that Wamai ban, like I talked about. Basically, Pixel might be close to indefensible.
Well, this is a unique ban, and especially since you've taken out two deployable shields and arguably the best operator when it comes to the pixel hold. So we're going to have to see how this plays out. Are you going to even elect to play in pixel? And if you are you going to put a smoke deployable shield, or are you going to bring out a Goyo who increases your shield economy by 2? And right now it's going to be Jaiko. He's relegated over to that Goyo. And in this setup, you're not allowed technically 4 shields if Ella is bringing one herself. And we've seen this before in different leagues, and it's become incredibly oppressive. It's almost impossible to push a 4 shield meta, but it's going to be a 6 pick away, and now it's going to be a pulse, which means the attackers, they're going to have to drone out the first and second floor because it's going to be a liability to allow pulse to roam.
Of course, that's if they knew. Unlike us, we know that there's a pulse, but as of right now, they don't know that there's a pulse. And they're going to my favorite site, or I believe our favorite site, of reading fireplace here. And this is going to be interesting if they're going to want to hold, say, bottom to top, or if they want to hold top to bottom. We've seen teams vary between these type of strats.
And here we go. We talked about this is the best bomb site on Cafe, and it looks like cLaw Central understands this fully as they go here as their primary bomb site. Now, as we're talking about in the pregame, you have to execute upon the site exactly like you would if you're taking on bar. But the problem is, as soon as you clear out that top floor, well, you have to repeat that exact same job, but just on the second floor. And that's where the time degradation strategy really pays into a factor, also including the fact that you have to waste a lot of utility. Now, right now, you can see the 2 soft hatches here on the top floor of Cafe. And remember, the technical test server has not gone live yet, so for the time being, those hatches will be soft. And if you don't understand what I'm referencing, hatches are now hard, at least when they're on external surfaces.
As of right now, that is on the test server, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see if they want to implement that completely. It's going to bring a whole new style of play completely into an attack if they want to bring fully hard breach, if their strat determines on getting into this top side. And we're going to see Thunder just peek out, and he's going to find Hogger. That's an extremely early pick on the top of the white stairs. Find one, he might peek out and maybe find here a second, but no, he's going to get punished as Warrior finds Thunder. That's your Smoke and Maverick off the board for your 2 teams respectively. And all of a sudden, in just under 2 minutes left to go, in a full man count, and no real estate really on the site yet for Team Remedy.
It's a bad day to be a support player, as both of them have been felled out for free. Now, Thunder's 3 smoke grenade surrender is going to prevent the defense from delaying time, but also on the side of the attackers, well, their primary and only hard breacher has been relegated to the grave as well. But the extended hold upstairs has already been broken down, with hardly 60 seconds being wasted, and that seems like a mistake altogether. But Jaiko, he has a nitro cell, and he's going to send it vertically, and that's going to be another attacker off the board. Your secondary entry will no longer find a factor in this round, and the attackers really don't have a lot of stop disruption. They're going to have to rely mainly on Ash and IQ, but IQ has now been taken off the board as well, and this is not looking good for Team Remedy.
50 seconds here left on the clock in your first round here, and Warrior's going to find himself a second here on the round. He's going to pre-fire through the floor to even this up a bit more in a 2v3 here, and it's looking to go the way of the defense here. However, the attack is in a very good position to still net themselves something here, at least to start out. And we're going to see Dreamy possibly push his way through into reading and start to get that plant down. And it's going to be very hard for them to actually get, for the defense to actually counter this, because they have that vertical play. We're going to find a triple kill here. He's on himself possibly for the quad and the ace, as Dreamy is going to start getting this plant down with 10 seconds here left to go. And Warrior's pushing in reading with him here. He doesn't know exactly where anybody is, and the pre-fire is going to come out from Jaiko, but Jaiko's going to miss. Fox is going to find himself one onto Warrior, and Dreamy left in a 1v2. Time to clutch. However, he's going to miss the shots on the first one, put him down. Flonks is down now. And last one is Jaiko. He's going to net himself that one kill, and it's a 1v1 here. Jaiko, 30 seconds here left. He's going to use that scanner. He knows he's far away, and he knows exactly where Dreamy is. Dreamy is just going to come up and maybe find himself that one kill. However, Jaiko, low on health, has to bait this out. 15 seconds here left. He's going to try and stick this. I don't even think Dreamy knows this. He's going to peek around the corner, and Dreamy will find himself the round 4 and Remedy. And that's a very hectic first round, wouldn't you say?
Indeed it was, and it was bad pre-plant positioning that ended up costing the defense right there, and a wonderful execute coming out by Warrior. He was trying to do his best Dan impression, and then definitely he accomplished that goal. But let's look at that final execute there, especially in the post plant. We did see a 2v1 coming there, and Dreamy played it perfectly. But honestly, it actually looked like the defense, well, they didn't really play it as well as they should. And instead of presenting a 1v2 engagement, well, they basically prevented 2 1v1s, and that allowed Dreamy to basically pick them off. Now, imagine if the defense swung exactly at the same time. Dreamy maybe would have found one kill, but I can promise you this, there is no way he can spin his mouse fast enough and turn on the guy behind him. And sadly, that's what cost cLaw Central. And one thing to remember, Team Remedy is an absolute unknown here in SCL. Why is that? Well, because they're the newest team. There isn't a lot of VODs here on the market.
That is true. They only have technically one VOD, and it's on Coastline. Not really a huge map, and not a very strat-orientated map. Again, you can have strats on that type of map. However, it's not as set in stone like a map as in Cafe, or like Villa, as we've seen cLaw play not once, not twice, count them all 3 times so far. And we're going to see cLaw go to this top floor here.
And here we go. The problem with this top floor was Remedy executed on this flawlessly without wasting any time. There was similar utility being placed by cLaw Central the last time they went in reading room, so we're going to have to see how they end up adjusting this strategy. And right now, the primary adjustment they're making is putting a player in shops, and that is going to be one of your SMG-11 M590 bros, and that's actually Thunder in this case. He is going to be relegated to this position. It's going to be a do-or-die situation for the entire rest of this round. The attackers seem to understand this already, as it's going to be a west window execute, and this is going to prevent Thunder's rotation, which basically means he can only come through shot patches if he wants to move away with his life.
That's assuming he even wants to, because knowing a lot of teams and how they want to play, they do send a lot of players on suicide missions to try and force them out of certain sites or try and delay some time. And Thunder is on the suicide mission here, as we're going to find Warrior with his first kill on the round, and Remedy just pushing their way through here. They went around basically that entire setup that Thunder had set up here, and they don't have to worry about wasting much utility besides on getting that castle barricade open, which they did pretty flawlessly.
The problem is you're still going to have to push the M590 of Crispy, who's currently residing in Toilets, if you want to acquire White Hallway. And you can see Crispy playing this as patiently as possible, waiting for audio cues and waiting for the drone cues to pounce on the unsuspecting attackers. And the defense, they're one man down, but they find themselves in wonderful position to actually execute and defend their bomb site. And the attackers, the thing they have going for them most right now is the fact that they have a lot of time to set up their initial execution, basically create their own crossfires, and then go boom.
They do have plenty of time here. Still with 60 seconds left on the clock here, and you only need about 4, or even 1 second really, to start putting that bomb down here. We're going to see a beautiful shot come in here from Hager to find the castle, and that's bait off the board. All of a sudden, a 2-man advantage coming in for the attack of Remedy. It looks to be swinging their way so far.
And here we go, more shots rain out as Warrior's going to find a second kill in this round. And Crispy, he's going to attempt to answer it back. He's going to find one. Jaiko's off the board as well. It's just Crispy stuck in this 1v4. It's a do or die situation. Yes, SMG-11 is probably the worst gun to have in this position, but he's still going to make it work. That's going to be a triple kill. He's still going to have to find more. It's going to be the clutch ace miracle, but that's his undoing as Dennis with a long range kill. The G8 is going to punish him out. Team Remedy is looking unstoppable right now.
Honestly, if it wasn't for Crispy in this round, I think we would have seen a flawless round here coming in from Team Remedy, and it's looking quite literally flawless so far. They just seem to be playing to a T, and again, like we like to talk about, what kind of T? Well, let's just leave it as they're T-posing on this team so far. They're really just putting up as much dominance as they are so far. Granted, it is through only 2 rounds, but if you're cLaw right now, you have to be wanting to put more pressure back on this defense, and it seems like they're just cracking down completely on your team.
As we mentioned in previous rounds, it's going to be on cLaw to create a strategy that wastes time. And right now, they're not doing any of that. And especially their Chopstick extended hold. It was designed to waste time, and I'll give them that. The problem was there was no crossfire in Piano. So we saw the attackers executed Piano for free, open up the castle barricade, and that was Thunder removed for free. If we place the deployable shield in Pixel, or honestly in that extended hold into Toilets, well, it could have worked there too, and it would have prevented the attackers from wide swinging, and you could already see cLaw making the adjustment. The problem with this, though, is we've already seen them place members of their squad on that AC unit to try to basically mitigate this power position. So that's going to require the defense to move their deployable shield about a half-meter forward, and right now, using this overhead, they haven't made that adjustment.
They haven't made it as of yet here, and it doesn't seem like they're going to be putting anybody in that cigar shop once again. It seems like they're going to be adjusting and putting someone into Pixel instead, which may be smarter here. They're going to try and delay time in a different manner to try and force them to defend a different type of site. Now, Flonson here looks to be getting pretty aggressive here as he's under Skylight in bar, and he might be trying to find an early pick here, but I'm sure he'll get drawn out soon enough here, as Pixel is also being held here. It's going to be a very, very, I guess you can say, more adjusted defense here coming in from cLaw Central.
Well, here we go. As you mentioned, it's more traditional, but the problem is, will it waste time? Just because it's traditional actually might hurt them, because Team Remedy has probably played a strategy very similar and knows how to counteract it. I would call this bog standard, and right now it's Dennis shutting down Jaiko, the man who's highest rated SEL. He's looked unstoppable, and right now he's 0-3, which you can never count him out. He will definitely start to change up his attack, at least when he moves over to his attack in approximately 3 rounds. That's honestly where he looks the best. The attackers, though, they have confirmed the west side of the map is owned by them. They have taken it, but it's going to come down to this execute.
This execute will come in presumably at least a little sooner, as we are just past the 90-second mark here. We're seeing Lasky open up that close bar wall here, and it's getting really, really dangerous here for cLaw Central. They didn't really reinforce that wall. They don't really have any apex points here. And we're going to have to see Flaunson probably rotate out and fall down below for a flank here, because this 5v4 man advantage that they have is going to be very dangerous. Because they know seems to be where everybody is, and the Free Fire will come in, but Flaunson will be able to find Warrior. That's a beautiful pick on, and that's the kill that they need right here, as they are just about 50 seconds here left in the round.
Well, equal man count, but as I mentioned that it's going to be another defender falling, and falling far too early, and we're going to have to rely on the primary anchors to make this round happen. But fortunately, the defense still has plenty of time to be successful. The attackers, you can still see them executing. They're still droning, trying to get as much information as possible. They're also going to have to deal with potential of Echo yokai drones that are still hovering and floating around. Both of them are still up and active, and with 20 seconds left, they aren't doing anything. And Dreamy, he might be successful with the plant, and indeed, it's going to get shut down. It's only a 2v2 with 13 seconds left. The defense might have been able to pull it out, but the attackers' guns are going to start to line up right now. There's so little time left in this round. Dennis is stepping up big. It's now 1v2, but Thunder's positioning is going to work out, and I think he's going to make it happen, and he will.
A very, very hectic round coming in here, but cLaw is able to claw their way through to find themselves one round here, and the diffuser just wasn't able to get put down immediately here. And we're going to see possibly a rotate. Yes, we're going to see them go to kitchen here, not try that reading fireplace site once again. And I don't know what to say other than a beautiful traditional hold coming in from the defense that we typically see, and it worked out pretty well here.
Indeed, it did. Now we're going to be going down to kitchen service, a site that we've yet to see transpire. And the benefit of this site is it requires the attackers to do a full top-down roam clear. But we've actually seen that strategy change a lot, and especially in the North American Major, where we saw a lot of the North American teams just do a very dedicated West and big bakery execute, which is kind of baffling to me, because it seems like you put far too many eggs in one basket. You're essentially putting 5 members in one tiny room, and it allows the defense to create crossfires of their own. I'm still a big fan of taking that vertical pressure on down, and just judging by the lineup that Team Remedy is continuously bringing, they might not have enough soft destruction to even go for an execute unless they're putting either Dennis or Lasky on those soft breaches.
5 seconds to go.
Well, I think that's a good point to bring up, that the vertical destruction, is not necessarily here for them unless they're bringing full breaching charges on, say, 2 to 3 operators, because let's not forget, the Ash can bring it, but typically we do see her run a flashbang setup. However, I do also like to bring up that going everybody into bakery and holding on to basically this entire lower half and west side of the map is, of course, a complete bottleneck here if you do want to force your way in. But once you open up, say, that wall, assuming you can, and then force the defense to kind of push their way back, it kind of goes in the way of the attack here.
Well, the attackers, they are still doing this dedicated West take that we're talking about. It's actually Flaunson utilizing the vertical destruction that the attackers could be doing. And this is another iteration of this whole hold, because remember, holes work both ways, and Flaunson is going to use that to his best power. And since the attackers aren't executing above, well, Flaunson's position will pretty much perpetually exist until they actually address it. Bait somewhere off screen is going to get far too aggressive, and that's going to be his undoing, as it's Jaika who's now executed above as well, utilizing those Maverick holes once again against the attackers, at least if they present themselves. Hogger took a little bit of damage from that, and here comes the attackers. They know the flaws of their ways, and now they're going to be pushing straight into the second floor and straight into the gun barrels of the defense.
Hogger here is going to try and get this wall open, but as he's doing that, Dennis will find himself down here to the roamer of Jaiko here. And Jaiko might try to net himself 1 kill here, but he knows that someone is going to be coming up to either revive him or net that refrag just in case here. However, we're going to see Hogger get down a lot of HP here. Not good for your Maverick here, as it doesn't even look like his wall is complete, and he's not. He's going to have to be very sparingly here if he's going to be able to get it open, and it will be able to. But we're going to see the revive on Dennis as well. 2 players on very low HP, and we still have 2 roamers away from site now.
Well, we're going to have to see how they find impacts in this round, but right now, those 2 impact holes may be the blessing they have, because the attackers are going to have to push straight through those fatal funnels. Hogger's going to find it out the hard way, as now he is removed. He still had 2 frag grenades, and that would have been probably one of the best situations to break down the bunker hold. Jaiko also, that vertical angle is going to punish the attackers, and more vertical kills come on through. This might be the undoing of Team Remedy, but they're going to try to bounce back, but it's all going to be in vain. It's going to be Flans and Jaiko on this dual roam, shutting down the attackers.
Like we said, the error of their ways was not corrected, because Dennis tried to go for this top floor, or excuse me, the second floor clear, and then all of a sudden, as soon as he got down, they said, we're not going to go mess with that, because time was technically ticking down. However, they still had plenty of time to go in and clear out that floor of those roamers, because they knew someone was playing up there. Now, again, they might have had a comm and just go, they fell back to site, so maybe they just decided to go through it. But of course, they paid the error of their ways, as cLaw Central was able to get themselves their second round in a row here. And all of a sudden, it looks like the tides have shifted. Wouldn't you say, Chief?
I believe it has. Maybe Team Remedy just started off very aggressive. They were warmed up, and maybe it just takes cLaw Central a few rounds to, get in the swing of things. We've definitely seen teams exactly like that. Honestly, TT6 can kind of fall into that same groove as well, where it takes them just maybe 2-3 rounds to start firing on all cylinders. But once they do, they're completely unstoppable. Now remember, 4-2 splits are very normal on this map. And Team Remedy, they've already accomplished 50% of their goal. So even if they lose the next 4 rounds in a row, they are still sitting pretty. The only problem with losing 4 rounds in a row is that's a lot of snowballed momentum for cLaw Central. And when they go over to their attacking side of the half in approximately 2 rounds, they might be able to use that momentum and just steamroll Remedy. But again, it's all speculation at this point.
5 seconds to insertion.
It is a speculation until we actually see it happen, and we're going to be going to reading Fireplace once again. We saw this in the first round for a very, very hectic first round. So I'm very interested to see how they're going to play this, and we're actually going to see the adaptation coming in from bringing the Mira and the Alibi here.
And that was something we really didn't touch too much on, is the fact that Mira, this is actually her best map, and she can shut down any line of sight, especially on that 3rd floor. You basically place it on the east bar back wall, and then you open west bar back wall as well as toilets wall, and any attackers that enter anywhere near, but it's going to be a rush as the attackers swing on through, but Bane's going to find 2 doubles with Nitro Cell. Jaiko's going to attack on the board. Hunter and Warrior is going to find impacts as well. It's now a 1v3 as a rush by the attackers. It just didn't work out, and this is the type of aggression I like to see, but sadly, it was in vain.
A terrible, terrible rush here coming in from the team of Remedy. It just did not play at all to their favor here, and it seems like we might be calling a rehost very, very soon. And that just did not play in their favor at all. That complete rush into sight. Maybe they got something told immediately. However, it did not play in their favor. That top-down clear always has to be cleared out, and you have to have somebody told that it's clear to rush in here. And of course, we will be having a rehost here, as one of the players did have their game crash. We'll be back with you very, very shortly.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are once again back here with week number 4. It's Team Remedy versus cLaw Central. We had a quick rehost, but the players are back in the lobby. So let's dive back into round number 6 here on Cafe. And we saw a very strong start coming out by Team Remedy, but cLaw started to inch their way closer and closer to a 4-2 split.
They are inching themselves closer and closer for that split here. And we're going to see the last round here of the first half as cLaw Central is going to try and find themselves here for the 4-2 split here. Or maybe they'll net themselves a 3-3 here, depending on how well Remedy is going to be able to pull this out. And we're going to see a top floor hold as we saw the second and third round here. And it's going to be very important to see if Remedy is going to replicate what they did that second round if they're going to be as dominant as they were beforehand.
Now, I see that we have a Ying 6-pick over to the operator that they've been running the whole time, and that was Nomad. But maybe they should actually try a Ying. And we've seen cLaw basically put their players out on islands, and there isn't a better operator at punishing a strategy like that than Ying. And imagine if they're still doing an extended hold in the shop. You put a Ying Candela there, and I can promise you that Smoke, who was at Thunder at that point, will be absolutely obliterated. But right now, again, they're not doing a strategy similar to that, and they're going to do an extended hold in the Pixel. One thing that I do like, though, is going to be a Mute Mozzie combination. It's going to be exactly like what we saw back in SI 2020, and this meta is incredibly impressive. It does such a great job at preventing the attackers from gaining information and then forcing them to do blind face checks. And this is why Monty got so much play in the early parts of 2020.
We did get plenty of plays here, but we do see him banned very, very often here. We're going to see a nice drone lob. Harper's going to hop off the front. Very, very tragic there. Can we get an F in the chat, please? And we're going to see just a standard setup here coming in from the defense. The same thing that they did their second time around on this site here, which allowed them to be a bit more dominant and allowed them to actually apply more pressure to this attack here. And it's going to be basically the exact same take in here coming in from Remedy here. They're going to force themselves into red and into yellow and take the west side of this map. Now, Chief, I have a question for you. We see a lot of this west side take here. Do you think that it just might have been smart for maybe Remedy to try a east side take?
You have to have the soft destruction to make that happen, and you are running an Ashe, you are running a Zofia, so you can do vertical soft destruction, but when you guarantee it or you attempt the east take, you have to push the player out of B number 3, or some teams like to refer to as C1. If you do not do that, it's usually an Alda in that position, but it's actually going to be baited with an ACOG, which is probably more impressive if you want to take that long-range gunfight. If you don't take that vertical destruction, that player is basically going to perpetually sit there, and you're going to have no avenue of pushing on in. As it's going to be Flanson, he's going to find himself an early grave, but look what's working below. That's going to be Jaiko with the Nitro.
It's going to be very, very close here as he might try to lob one up and catch himself a three-pointer maybe. And what he doesn't know is that there's two players neck and neck with each other in that second round. Pretty much 3 here, and he could net himself plenty of kills here if he launches one, but he's not going to. He's probably going to be saving it here for the plant, which could be coming very soon here, as we see Remedy have control of a lot of this map here, and they're opening up plenty of this map. And we have bait here on the ACOG here. Like you said, it's very impressive to have somebody in this position here, especially with such a beautiful and powerful gun of the MP5 SD. And we're just nearing about 40 seconds here left in the round, and the execute's going to be coming out very soon.
Jaiko's position is known. He sends out a Nitro cell, but not landing anything. That's the majority of your plant denial wasted away. But Thunder, he's still alive, so at least you have 3 toxic babes in your back pocket. The attacker's going to have to pounce on, but it's actually going to be Jaiko. He's going to be the one starting the pounce. And look at how little time is left to execute. The attackers have 15 seconds. They're going to have to push in. It's starting to turn into do or die. And the defense, they're starting to light these guns up as they're now in control of this round. It's only 2 attackers left as Zenith is off the board. It's going to be the push in through Warrior. He's going to find one, but that's all he can find. It's a Crispy ending it out.
And here we find the classic 4-2 split coming in for the defenders here, and a dominant hold coming in here from cLaw Central here as we swap them over to the defense. now we swap cLaw Central over to the offense. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how they're going to want to play this here. And instead of Jaiko on the Yana, we're actually going to see Flanson.
What a curious decision. Now we are talking about East Window Repel executes. Buck is a perfect operator for that, especially when he had frag grenades. But Jaiko is going
Ooh.
to be making the 6 pick. It's going to be the reign of the G8. And what window he elects to send himself in, well, I promise you, people will be dying on the other side. Now, will it be Jaiko or will it be somebody else? We're going to have to find out. But this Clash 6 pick is also going to be very interesting. Now, I want to quickly highlight Remy's attack. They're playing very well as a roster. We saw that the last time they played in week number 3 when they're on coastline. And the thing was, though, as soon as a team broke down their attacking strategy, they started to lose rounds. So I never really felt that Remedy ever lost control of an execute. They just wasted too much time, and that's still not necessarily losing control.
It definitely seems like that's what happened to them here, and maybe they're playing into that, and they want to use Hogger on the Clash to try and delay more and more time here. Now we're going to see the double Goyo shield setup here coming in from Dreamy to hold on to White, depending on where the attack comes in from. And I'm really interested to see, we're going to see Jaiko here with the Amaru. I want to see him just kind of rush into sight, hopefully soon enough. Or maybe they're going to wait and use him for the, as some would like to call it, the down to up strategy, which is he goes in through a hatch, which is very, very strong, especially since the buff came in for Amaru, where she doesn't need to break the hatch before jumping through it.
Well, she hasn't yeeted herself out yet, so maybe you are correct. Maybe they're going to be attempting a hatch take. Honestly, she's such an enigma. We hardly ever see her play, and it's honestly just speculation how we're going to see her use, and we're just going to have to see it actually transpire out, as he's going to be doing a lame, boring repel. Oh no, this we need to see some action. We need to see some engagements, and he's just going to be sitting there cooking his flashbang. We want some Amaru kills, Jaiko. Bring us what we want. And it's actually Flanson doing exactly that, claiming the ownership of Cigar.
And we're going to see that deployable shield and alibi just go away here, as Hogger's still going to be holding it, but a frag will be cooked and sent their way here. And Hogger's going to be basically the main line of defense pushing in if they want to go for this west side take. Now, it definitely seems like they want to push their way in here. And Jaiko here hasn't done anything too flashy yet, and I'm kind of upset about it. He hasn't done anything with it. And we're going to see the first Goyo shield go down, and it's going to be actually in Freezer. A interesting place to put it, wouldn't you say, Chief?
Well, speaking about interesting, look at that double alibis on planks right there. That's something you don't see, but honestly, I like this.
They're high-fiving, okay? Give them a break.
They're not touching, so are they telepathically high-fiving? Wow, that's unique. That's something you don't see every day. But look at this. All 10 members of this lobby are up and breathing. 60 seconds left in this round. This is exactly what they call the 20-second meta. The attacker is wasting time, but it's going to be Dreaming finding the execute. Amaru is prepped. Her gadget might be sent out. She has the pings, but when will it come? The world may never know. Jaiko's waiting for some type of information, but the suspense is continuously mounting. Maybe my voice can't handle it for long. And here he goes. He's heated on in. He's going to spot that of one, but he's going to be put straight into a 6-foot grave. Didas hears the audio cue, and he's going to punish Jaiko's aggression. But there's only 20 seconds left in this round. There's only 2 attackers left. Dreamy's going to find his second kill using that TCSG perfectly. And now it's going to be Thunder. He's going to be zapped. He's going to get tapped. And it's going to be Dreaming finding a third.
Honestly, I really wanted something to come of that Amaru play, but sadly, it will go in the way of Team Remedy here as they find themselves their third round here, finally picking one up after the rehost here. And I'm very, very excited here because we're seeing a lot of back and forth coming in here from both teams. We haven't seen this come in from Team Remedy here, and they're going to go down to Kitchen here. I'm very excited to see how they want to strat this out here. They're going to see the constant Yana play here, and it really seems like Claw Central, ever since they started this on Villa, they want to constantly pushing in this Yana meta.
And that was the thing, though, but we actually see a roster change, or at least an operator change. That's Jaiko, who was basically maining Ayana. Now he's on Buck, trying to set up this vertical destruction, I guess, but he looks unstoppable when he was playing Ayana. So it's curious to see why they've elected to make that strategy. And I would actually love to talk to Claw Central in an interview about that. But remember, we only interview the winner, so it's going to require Claw Central to win it out in the end. Let's dive back into round number 8. And this castle strategy has kind of come into the meta. It's fallen out of the meta, and now once again it is back in. Now, how are we going to utilize them on the macro perspective? Are you going to basically set up a VIP extended hold, or are you just trying to prevent the attackers from swinging in through small bakery? And this is why I'd love to talk to every team about the strategies they build out, because it's so hard to speculate what's the accomplished goal of these strategies.
It really does seem like every single strat has something different in mind, and we're going to see a very late reinforcement coming in here from Warrior. And depending on the team and depending on how you want to play every single map, you have certain strats depending on the team you also play. Because keep in mind, all these teams have reviews on each other, and they know that some teams play aggressive. They know that some teams play, a lot of different ways. So depending on how a team certainly plays, they definitely want to play into that and acquire more time if you're the defense to just bottleneck this attack.
I concur, my friend, and it actually looks like those castle barricades are set up for a VIP extended hold, and we can tell that by the reinforcements and the rotations they've essentially put in that position. And it's going to be Warrior. He's going to be relegated to holding this position until he dies. And the Alda is the best gun in the game to probably do that. The only criticism I have of this strategy is a lack of deployable shield, and the fact that Jaiko can just do vertical extensions, basically mitigating that rotation and the sole angle that Warrior has. Now, the point of this vertical destruction, though, is to funnel the defense away from these bunkers that they love to set up, or they have to get aggressive on their position, and so far, it's only pushing away the defenders.
We're going to see the early pick come in here from Flossin onto Lasky. Lasky wanted to get very aggressive on ground stairs here, and he's going to know exactly where Warrior is on that Maestro here. And they have complete control of any floor besides the bottom one, it looks like. They have nobody on this bottom floor here. So where are they going to try and push in? Are they going to go for a freezer, or maybe are they going to go back around and maybe force themselves into bakery as we reach just about the 50-second mark here?
Well, it's going to be all the chiming and trying to mitigate all that explosive devices on that hard wall, as it's going to be Crispy stepping up, trying to alleviate this power position, but it's to no avail, as it's just going to be the Alda rotating back into safely. Warriors playing his position brilliantly, but it's going to be the myriad of explosive devices. The castle barricades actually might be killing out Warrior, but he's going to hold mouse 1. He's going to hold mouse 2 as Crispy is going to put away that position. It's still the defense on the back foot, but there's so little time left in this round. It might be exactly what the doctor ordered, as it's now 20 seconds left. It's going to be the tandem execute coming out by Claw, as it's going to be east to west, coming through that fatal funnel. It's going to be Dreamy, though. He's trying to punish those positions. He's trying to punish the attackers. There's so little time left. It might not be doable. Kate is going to have to go for this plant, and it's going to be exactly that, as the Nitro Soul gets sent out, not shutting anything down, and it's going to be the knife. The attackers somehow bring it back to the brink of destruction. A brilliant job.
All down to the play of Flonson there, as I believe he gets himself a quad kill. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he net himself a quad kill there, one away from the ace, and beautiful play coming in there from the attackers of Claw Central. They are just absolutely dumb. They were really just able to just bring it back from the brink there, as it seemed like with 20 seconds left there, they only had very, very few places to go through. So hats off to them to being able to push in and still find them opening kills.
Now, just pure speculation on my point, but I think the team that's getting the opening kills is a team that's starting to win out these rounds, which is something you tend to see. Now, look at this six pick. It's going to be Ying. We talked about how she could be effective here on Cafe, and especially when it's an isolate strategy, which is basically what cLaw was utilizing, trying to mitigate that power position on VIP. Now, imagine if Bait was already on that Ying. He could have set one, maybe two Ying Candelas downstream, and then that poor warrior would have been absolutely obliterated. Now, also, when you're taking upstairs, if there's pixel spot, if they're playing in C1, you can still use that Candela.
Having the Candelas, excuse me, here on this type of attack, especially for a site like this, could prove very, very fruitful here, especially if you know exactly where all the defenders are, because a rush strategy actually could be on play. I wouldn't want to see it happen again, because we saw how poorly it was executed by Remedy in the first half. But using that Ying here, especially after she got the buff with the smoke grenades and her buff to her LMG, I'm very excited to see how they're going to capitalize with her, or maybe Bait might find himself in a 6-foot grave early on.
Now, we have seen Troll Team 6 successfully do that exact same rush strategy, and it was all being spearheaded by Daddy Derek. So maybe that's exactly what we need. We need Derek to take control of this lobby and create a strategy like that. But sadly, Derek plays for a different team, so cLaw Central, you can't have him because he's already being owned. Now, here we go. It's going to be round number 9. The attackers have done their due diligence so far, taking the majority of control of the top floor. What it's going to be Pulse. He is going to try to find a cheeky free kill, and Dennis is staring at the wall. I hope he hasn't crashed because it's far too late in the round to call a rehost. But no, he is back from the grave, and here he is trying to make late round pulls to prevent the plant.
Probably just talking about something.
Attackers have located the bomb.
And it sounds like my co-caster has just DC'd, or his mic has had an aneurysm. So here we go. It's going to be the 90-second mark. And the attackers, well, they may own T3, but they haven't started to push their way on down. And it's going to be the spearhead defensive warrior here on that MX4 Storm. A gun that gets hardly utilized, and she's going to be sensible rotating away. An ill-advised Candela goes down, but that's Nitro Cell answering back. And that's going to be baited, removed from this round. And it appears my co-caster keeps leaving and joining, so I'm not sure what's going on with him, but there's only so much time left in this round, 60 seconds, which is still plenty of time for the attackers to end up executing.
They will still have plenty of time, especially with the top four. Going to see no more, excuse me, we might have one more Nitro Cell here left. I don't know who it's left on exactly, but we're gonna see Hogger here on the Pulse here, and this is gonna feed them a lot of valuable information here, especially as we dive into the last 30 seconds here on the round. We're gonna see Lasky maybe go here for a late flank here, and it could prove very, very fruitful because it doesn't even look like Thunder has even put anything to cover this flank here. This is going to get very, very messy here for cLaw, as they're going to want to execute very, very soon here. And Lasky's going up for this one. He's going to find himself two here. The double for him, and he wants to see on for maybe the third here, and he's not going to be able to do that, as Jaiko is going to find his number here. And Jaiko is also going to be found out by Dreamy here. And Flaunson not able to find the last one, as he's the last one alive. And the defenders will take that round 4 or 5 here, coming in for Team Remedy.
Well, I think the attackers learned why Reading Room is statistically the best site for the defense. It requires far too much utility to actually successfully execute. And when you have so little time, it all just starts to break down from there. But here we are. It's round number 10. The attackers still find themselves slightly in control of this map. But the thing is, Team Remedy looks unstoppable on certain bomb sites, especially when you're on the second and first floor, which are currently locked out. So how will the attackers begin to break this down? Well, round 10 starting right now.
It is very, very likely that we see all 12 rounds here, as we've seen a lot of back and forth action coming in from both teams here, and a very, very wide selection of strats and how these teams want to play. And we're going to see the top floor come in here for for Team Remedy, as they're electing to bring Hogger on the Clash once again. So I'm very excited to see how they play this. We're also going to see Warrior on the Alibi once again.
The thing with this strategy, though, is you're going to have to rotate an attacker over to East AC units, burn out the ADSs that are going to be put on Lumber, and then blow up the double deployable shields that are constantly placed here on top right. And that's a curious attacking strategy. It's something that most teams haven't really found out or have ever really utilized. But the thing behind that is they're putting both a Clash as well as a secondary support operator in that vicinity, and you can't push them out at least through the west side of the map. So your only option is doing some type of East execute. If at all minimum, it's just a player on the East AC unit. And remember, if you're going to actually do a full dedicated East execute, well, you're going to have to put a lot of manpower in reading and utilize vertical destruction. You have a buck in play, so that is the best operator, as well as one set of frag grenades on that Iona.
We're going to see the flank stopped here from Thunder, and he's just going to throw a bunch of the I don't even know. I forgot the word. I just had a quite little stroke from it. Track stingers. I said stat stringers. Wow, I am on fire tonight. And we're going to see just the basic seems to be attack coming in here for cLaw Central here. They know exactly where they want to push in, and they know exactly where these apex points are as well. And they don't know exactly where they want to go in as of yet, but we're going to see the nade in, and it's going to find that Goyo shield, or excuse me, it's not a Goyo shield, it's actually just a normal deployable, and that's easy enough to get rid of, and that's the first nade netted, or excuse me, the last nade netted by an ADS, and they weren't expecting that, so now it's going to be a little bit harder for them to get rid of that Goyo shield in the freezer.
Right now, it looks like cLaw Central is rushing through their mental checklist. They're making small mistakes, and that's contributing to very key players getting fragged, and that's exactly it. It's baited or removed from this round, all based on this mid-round positioning coming out by Lasky. Warriors going to attack onto this round as well, and this is what we are trying to say. The mid-round mistakes coming out by cLaw is starting to add up. They have no answer for this poor Clash, as we did is finding impact in this round again. It's only 2 attackers with 60 seconds.
60 seconds here left, but still technically plenty of time for these attackers to do something here, as it's Crispy and Thunder, but it's going to be very, very unlikely here, and we're going to see Thunder send out more Stingers to just try and net themselves any rotate here into Piano, but Dreamy is still on this Goyo shield, and we're actually going to see Hogger push up, and this is going to be very, very fatal here for cLaw Central, as we're just about the 30-second mark here, and I personally think cLaw Central is going to try and push their way through, but no, they're going to net themselves nothing here, as Team Remedy will find themselves another round.
Well, it's the defense throwing everything and the kitchen sink at the 2 last attackers as they flood out through shops. And sadly, I don't care how good you are at this game, there is no way you can survive that much lead being spit in your direction. Vial, what you were talking about, all 12 rounds being utilized, well, here it is.
I love it.
And also something very important to realize, though, is one of these teams will guarantee themselves at minimum 1 point here in round number 11. Will it be Team Remedy or will it be cLaw Central? It will be Kitchen Service where we decide that.
Team Remedy here looking to try and guarantee themselves at least 1 point here for their first point that they've been in this league so far. It's only been 2 weeks that this roster has been fully together here. So this will be a huge stepping stone, especially against a team like cLaw Central. Now, cLaw Central is looking to possibly jump themselves up into the upper, I believe, top 3 in the standings here if they get all 3 points. However, if they only get 1, this could put a dent in their plans here to try and up their way through. However, if Remedy gets themselves even 1 point here, this is the stepping stone of a very good team, because we saw them just start out with something very, very strong in Coastline, but now we're going to see them try and up their game here on a very more strat-oriented map of Cafe.
I think what we saw, as you mentioned,